Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafb.com.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce the wonderful local products we enjoy. Brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. There are plenty of places to learn about Virginia's rich agricultural heritage. Grilling season is here, and we have a delicious burger recipe to share. And we visit Mathews County in our monthly County Agricultural Close-Up.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're coming to you this week from Henricus Historical Park in Chesterfield County, which features colonial period farm animals and farm practices. Summer is the perfect time to learn about Virginia's largest industry, agriculture. Ricky Gibson visited some farm museums to give us a preview.
Agriculture is Virginia's first industry, and the folks running the Chip Oak State Park and Farm and Forestry Museum in Surry County are proud to say the land here has been farmed for 4 centuries. The museum was formed first by volunteers, then the state expanded operations to include a campground and swimming pool. Along with the historic mansion and wildlife trails along the James River, it's quite a destination site as well as a museum.
It's really easy to show students and folks and families that come out here to view the museum, hey, this is the way that it used to be done with a shovel or a pitchfork. And as the years progressed and folks realized, hey, there should be an easier way to do this, they were able to invent new machines and new ways to plant, harvest their crops and so forth.
The artifacts in the museum were mostly donated by farm families across the state, and a dedicated group of volunteers helped keep the antique machinery running.
What you don't see here are some of the tractors that we have on site that we use for some of our festivals and events. We have a 1930s sawmill on site. They will come out and do the maintenance on the mill. They will also come out and run that mill for us when we have some of our special events.
The museum hosts tours by both school groups and senior citizens. And visitors to the campground and historic plantation also swing by to see the exhibits.
We do some hands-on demonstrations with our guests and our visitors. We'll let our guests shell corn with a hand sheller or grind it with a hand grinder. And again, we'll have some of the other equipment that's belt-driven hooked up to engines and tractors. And just being able to see them utilize the equipment and see how it works. And it's really enjoyable for them and for us to watch them take part of that.
New features at Chip Oaks include a cultural garden featuring plants cultivated by Native Americans, as well as more of the traditional corn, cotton, and peanuts. There are also ambassador animals, heritage breeds that would have been raised here a century or more ago. You can learn more about the Chip Oaks Farm and Forestry Museum at their website. The Shenandoah Valley is also home to a rich agricultural heritage. And the McCormick Farm Museum is where the industrial age met the American farmer. Along with mechanical tractors, the McCormick reaper greatly reduced the need for manpower in agriculture.
The invention of the reaper is extremely significant in world history, similar to something like the invention of the printing press or something like that. Certainly in McCormick's era, the majority of people were connected to farming and agriculture, working on the land, and now today, 2 centuries later, it's less than 2% of the population is connected in some way to direct agriculture.
The McCormick Farm Museum is part of the Virginia Cooperative Extension Network of agricultural research sites around the state. Cattle and sheep breeding programs, along with forage and forestry research projects, are held here. But the antique grist mill and the blacksmith shop where the reaper's parts were first shaped is what attracts most visitors.
The grist mill is a working mill. We still run it once a year in October, so you get to see, if you should come here, you get to see how the mill operates and how it functions. It's preserved in its original condition. Also on the site is the historic home, which was built in 1822, where Cyrus's father, Robert, built this site. Behind it is servants' quarters and also a smokehouse.
The McCormick Museum is situated on a scenic ridge just off Interstate 81, making it easy to stop by for a short visit. And while most visitors take a self-guided tour, there are plans to develop additional exhibits in the blacksmith shop.
That would be a nice opportunity to try to get some more signage, inventory, what sort of equipment is in there that's authentic to the period, and also just improve the communication of the site.
You can learn more about the McCormick Farm Museum at their website. They're open most business days but closed to the public on state holidays. On the other side of the state, along the Potomac River, is the northern neck of Virginia. Row crops and fresh produce are raised in abundance here, and thanks to its natural beauty, it's a popular retirement site. It's also home to the Northern Neck Farm Museum, a small private operation started more than a decade ago by local farmer Luther Welch.
Mr. Welch wanted people from all over to be able to see what history was really like when he was young and even before him. He wanted you to look at a tractor. The tractors we see in the fields today are large pieces of equipment with air-conditioned cabs and computers in them that are driving you down the field. The tractors that Mr. Welch grew up with and I grew up with didn't have cabs, didn't have air conditioning, didn't have auto steer. So you were out in that field for hours and hours and hours in the sun, working up, and the land had to be worked up then.
We have a number of families that come here for summer vacations. They may have summer homes here, so they come and visit that don't live here in the area all the time, that they're still interested in the history of the area. It's interesting to see some of the local folks that come through, and as they see things, they have memories. I used that tool when I was young, or we had this tractor.
Farmers have always repaired their own equipment, and many value the craftsmanship of old machines. If you like antique tractors, this is the museum for you.
I think we have one family that has a tractor here now, that the 1951 Corbett, that I think is probably one of the more interesting pieces, because it's a very rare piece. There are not too many of them around. We have some in there that they're approaching 100 years old now, and some of them still run. They still operate. We have them out here in the yard and operating when we have special events. We have those operating.
There are also school tours and outdoor festival events, including fundraising dinners in the spring and fall each year. It's all about helping visitors and residents connect with their agricultural roots.
We do fall festival in the fall. We have a corn maze. They don't just come and spend a few minutes here. A lot of these families spend most of the afternoon just going around and doing things, looking at the building, the kids on the pedal tractors. If the sawmill's running, it's fascinating for people to see what that does.
Construction continues on a classroom learning space, and volunteers are dedicated to keeping the doors open as long as visitors keep coming. You can learn more about the Northern Neck Farm Museum at their website. There are other private and public farm museums in every region of Virginia. Search online for the one nearest you and swing by soon. In Northumberland County, Virginia, I'm Ricky Gibson reporting.
Virginia has a rich agricultural heritage dating back 400 years to the Jamestown colony, and Native Americans were raising crops long before then. In fact, early American settlers borrowed the technique of the Three Sisters from the Iroquois and Cherokee Indians. Squash, corn, and climbing green beans were planted together. The corn provided a trestle for the bean vines to climb. The beans brought nitrogen to the soil, while the squash leaves shaded out weeds. While those crops helped feed the settlers, early tobacco crops were the financial salvation of the Jamestown colony.
Hi, today we're going to be talking about how to keep insects out of your garden beds from the ground up. Please stay tuned.
Farming is a rewarding way of life, but it can also be full of challenges. If you or someone you know is struggling, call or text the AgriStress helpline at 833-897-2473. It offers 24/7 access to professionals who can support someone in need and help find mental health services in your community. Please make the call. because healthy farms depend on healthy farm families. That's 833-897-2474.
Gardeners constantly fight to keep insects away from some crops. Chris Mullins with Virginia Cooperative Extension shows us one way to keep them out, from the ground up.
Hi and welcome. Today we're at Virginia State University's Randolph Farm, and we're going to be talking about insects and specifically how to keep them out of your garden beds. I'm here with Rachel Lawmaster. Rachel is here at VSU. Rachel, this time of the year people are getting some insects. They're going to be starting to damage their crops. What kind of things are we seeing as far as insect problems?
So early on, you're going to see the cabbage moth come in, and they will lay a larvae down at your cole crops, which will then eat them up nice and good. We also have cucumber beetles and different caterpillars and things like that. And your Colorado potato beetle.
So lots of these critters want to get in, eat your plants. And I know a lot of people out there don't really want to spray harmful chemicals.
Correct.
So you've got a method here, it's pretty cool, of keeping them out. Tell me what you've got right here.
So we just simply have some insect netting, and all it does is provide a nice cover for your plants and keep out any insects from getting in there.
Oh, just keeping them out. And I noticed you've got a raised bed situation and you're growing, are those beans?
We've got beans in the middle, I've got radishes here and some beets as well.
Oh, that is wonderful. They look great, and really they're being protected by this fabric, keeping those insects out. Tell me what the parts and pieces are. If somebody wanted to do this, is it something that's a lot of parts and pieces? Is it expensive?
No, it is fairly affordable. You can find different pieces at your garden store. For the actual insect netting, you'll probably have to look at an online source. But other than that, it's just the landscape staples and some kind of supportive wire. I've also seen people use like PVC piping.
So that's just a straight wire.
Absolutely.
And then you bend it. And it turns into these hoops right here, right?
You just stick one each end in the ground, and then you have your supportive hoops. Every once in a while, I'll double up just in the middle, kind of helps keep that structure.
Okay. And then those staples, they'll hold it down on the sides or somewhere like that.
Yes, they do. And then that makes it easy for you to pull them out and uncover when you need to get in there and weed.
Can you use this over and over again every season?
So I can get mine to last 2 seasons if I'm careful enough. Sometimes you'll have some tears in there and you'll either have to cut it short or just toss it out.
Well, kind of a simple process really of putting these hoops in, putting the cover over. It just comes in a roll like that usually. So how do you manage it? So do you keep this on from the time that you first plant and all the way through the growing season?
So yes, I like to start mine right off when I first get them in the ground. That's when your plants are the most vulnerable. And then for a lot of my crops that don't need pollination, I can keep them covered year round or through their season and just uncover when I need to weed in there. But for the ones that do need to be pollinated, once I see some flowers on these beans, we will have to leave it open. And of course, when they grow past the height of my support hoop, I will have to keep them uncovered.
I gotcha. And so this one is you've got open, maybe for pollination, and then you've got these others closed. They don't need pollination.
Yep.
So that is wonderful. Now, do they get too hot under there?
No, it's a very breathable fabric. It lets in light water, a lot of air in there. So they do just fine. I even think it gives them a little bit of shading. So.
Right. Does it protect any early on? Maybe give it a little bit of warmer environment? Does it help at all, or do you use something else for that?
So I would actually switch to the row covers if I needed that extra heat, or if we got a late frost coming in. And it's easy to do because I already have my supportive hoops there and I already have my landscape staples, so I'm just swapping out fabric at that point.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, and in fact you can actually just cover up your insect netting with row cover fabric.
Oh, that is perfect. What a neat system to keep insects out and you're not having to spray, which I know everybody loves.
Yes.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Because that's costly too.
It is costly. And it's, different on the efficiency. If it's going to rain, I can't spray. That won't do anything, and it's just a waste. So this, I don't have to worry about it. And then by the time I'm uncovering the ones that need to be pollinated, the plant itself is usually strong enough to handle a little bit of insect pressure.
Perfect, perfect. Well, Rachel, thank you so much. Really neat way to keep insects out here.
Thank you, Chris.
Well, for more information about how to keep insects out of your garden with this type of cover, contact your local county extension office and talk to a master gardener. For From the Ground Up, I'm Chris Mullins. We'll see you next time.
From the Ground Up is presented with the generous advice and assistance of Virginia Cooperative Extension. Visit their website at ext.vt.edu.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Coming up on Heart of the Home, grilled lamb burgers with tzatziki sauce. We hope you'll stay with us.
Our cow, she walks into the barn and she gets milked. Milk's taken from her and put through a chiller. And that milk's taken from body temperature of a cow, which is about 102.5, and dropped to 35 degrees and put straight onto a tractor trailer. And it goes straight to the plant the next day. So most of the milk that's sitting on your store shelves is probably less than 48 hours old. And that's a pretty good testament to how efficient we are.
Grilling season is here, and everybody has a favorite burger recipe. Chef Tammy Brawley shows us how to grill a unique treat in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Chef Tammy Brawley from the Green Kitchen. Welcome to Heart of the Home. Today I'm going to show you guys a delicious burger. It is absolutely my favorite burger I've ever used. This is actually a courtesy of a friend of mine named Ed, who is a chef, and he is retired now to Florida. I miss him dearly, but he was kind enough to share this recipe with me before he left. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to make a tzatziki sauce. It's a Greek sauce. It's typically with cucumber, sour cream or yogurt, and some dill and some garlic. And that's what we're going to make first, because you want those flavors to develop. What you want to do is you want to take a cucumber and peel it, and you do want to actually seed it. Now, I've already have enough in the bowl, but I'm going to show you about seeding. Get a spoon, peel your cucumber, and you want to get those seeds out. Typically take the end of the spoon and just simply dig down into it. Get the seeds out. The main reason you're doing this is because you will be introducing a bit of water if you leave those in there, and you don't want this sauce to be watery. You want the sauce to be somewhat thick in nature. So in our bowl here we have cucumber already diced up that has been seeded, and we're going to add a cup or so of sour cream. And feel free to use a yogurt in this. Yogurt and sour cream are typically pretty interchangeable in recipes. So I'm going to do about a cup or so. I'm then going to add some, I'm actually going to use dried dill instead of fresh. Either one is fine. If you have an herb garden, you want to use fresh, that's fine. But when you use dried, you always want to use half the amount. So if your recipe calls for a tablespoon of fresh, then you want a half a tablespoon of dried. So we're going to add some dill to that. And we're going to add some fresh chopped garlic in that. And just a little salt, not very much. The salt will actually draw some water out of that cucumber as well, and again, you don't want that to happen for a lot because you don't want a lot of liquid. A little bit of coarse ground pepper there. And we're just going to stir the tzatziki up, and we're going to set it off to the side. In your refrigerator, preferably, just to let it thicken while we make our burgers. Now, what we do here is we have ground lamb and we have ground beef. The reason we add the ground beef really is to cut the lamb. It's not so much for flavor purposes, although some people do think lamb's a little strong. I love it with straight lamb, but also if you add the ground beef, it will extend your budget just a little bit. So we've got a pound of ground lamb, we've got a pound of ground beef, and to that we're going to add some allspice and some cinnamon. We're going to add more garlic, of course. We're going to add tomato paste. Now you might see this in a plastic. The reason we do this is when I open up a can of tomato paste, and I never use it all right away, I will then take it out by tablespoon portions, wrap it in plastic, and keep it in my freezer. And then when I need just a tablespoon of tomato paste, I have it at my ready. So we're going to dump in 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. And we're going to add some fresh chopped cilantro. And once again, a little salt and a little pepper. I do use kosher salt in all of my recipes, including my baking, and that is just it's a coarse ground salt. And I typically do use a Morton's. There are other brands out there, but they are way thicker and coarser, and I just find that the Morton's is better. So now we've got our mixture in here, and we're going to mix it up by hand. And we're going to form some patties out of this. This is 2 pounds of meat, so if you look at about a 6-ounce, maybe 8-ounce burger, you're talking 4 burgers at 8 ounces. Those are kind of big burgers, but you might want that. If you want smaller, you can certainly do smaller. You could do slider portions at 2 to 3 ounces and then use the smaller rolls. In this case today, we're actually going to make big burgers. So it's nice and mixed up. We're going to make our patties and we're going to come back and grill those. All right, so we have our lamb mixture with ground beef. We're going to take a few of them off of the grill and we're going to add the remaining. And while those are cooking, we will compose our lamb burgers with our tzatziki. These look absolutely delicious. We're going to take a bun and we're going to pop a burger right on it. Grab our tzatziki, waiting over to the side. Wow. Every time I film here, I always want smell-o-vision. If you guys could smell this. I'm Tammy Brawley with The Green Kitchen, lamb burgers with tzatziki sauce. Join us next time on Heart of the Home.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafb.com/recipes, as well as on Chef Tammy Brawley's website at greenkitchenrichmond.com.
Lamb and mutton was much more common on American dinner plates, and the cool mountain valleys of Western Virginia made for ideal sheep pastures. Sheep were raised for both their wool and meat value, but over the past 50 years, as artificial fabrics gained in popularity and coyotes moved into Virginia from the west, sheep production declined. Today, sheep are raised on 1,754 Virginia farms. According to the USDA, there were more than 82,000 sheep and lambs in the Old Dominion in 2017. Sheep are still popular youth education projects, and as more people from the Middle East move to Virginia, demand for mutton is gaining.
No one travels to Mathews County by happenstance. You have to want to go there. In this week's County Agricultural Close-Up, Burke Muller shows us why this farm community may be Virginia's best-kept secret.
Located on the eastern edge of Virginia's Middle Peninsula, Mathews County is long known as a grain-producing county. But in recent years, there's been a push to add aquaculture to the mix.
And oysters are a big part of this industry. Jordan Pod has lived in Mathews most of his life and decided to farm oysters after working several years as a commercial diver. He says county leaders have been helpful with permitting.
They just see it as a new kind of revenue stream, and it's helping the bay. Each oyster filters about 50 gallons of water a day. So when you have a farm of 3 million oysters, you're really getting it.
Pod says Mathews County has become more of a tourist destination over his lifetime. Sometimes that creates friction between oyster farmers putting their cages on the water and the owners of waterfront property. Pod says he takes measures to reduce the visibility of his cages.
We try to keep it as tidy as possible, but it's hard when you get storms.
On land, Mathews is known for producing corn and soybeans. Robert Respis grows both, but he stays away from smaller grains because his land is so close to the water.
One of the main reasons I don't grow wheat is because our ground is flat and we got a lot of black ground, and in the wintertime it can get saturated, and the water table is always up more in the wintertime, and wheat doesn't like get its feet wet. So that's the reason I don't grow wheat anymore. However, the cover crops do pretty well down here if we can get them in and get them established. And the corn and the soybeans, just early plantings tend to do better than trying to get a double crop in behind small grain or wheat.
Respis is deeply involved in his community, and his farm has been in the family for more than a century. He's been a member of the Virginia Soybean Association, served on the board of the Tidewater Soil and Water Conservation District, and been a volunteer firefighter. Ronnie Lewis is also a grain farmer in Mathews County. He and his brother farm 500 acres of corn, soybeans, and hay. His family has farmed here for at least 3 generations, and they formed a bond with the land.
We're stewards of the land. We want to make this land better than what we found it. I mean, as you can tell with the cover crop here, and the soil tilth and organic matter. We want to do what's right, and I know all the farmers in Mathews participate and want to do what's right.
Unlike those multi-generational grain farmers, Patrick Hannes is in the process of relocating from Maryland. He worked for years in USDA's mushroom grading division and is taking advantage of the county's special characteristics to grow his business.
You have fog that comes in here every day, and it's a particularly wet area. So that's ideal for growing mushrooms, especially on logs. One is the straw mushroom, which is a summer mushroom, likes 95 to 105 degrees with 95 to 100% humidity. Welcome to Mathews County.
Hannes is also mentoring Christian Brown, who has about 500 logs on his property for cultivating mushrooms. He is using foil to prevent the logs from drying out and keeping out other fungi spores and insect pests away from the mycelium. Mathews County has 43 farms covering 6,584 acres. The market value of all agricultural products is $3,776,000. Crops dominate agriculture in the county, accounting for $2,092,000. Grains bring in $1,191,000. There are very few familiar livestock such as cattle and sheep in Mathews County, but aquaculture is responsible for $1,586,000. Oysters are not just raised in the water. At Oyster Seed Holdings, a local hatchery, workers are filling these beakers with algae that will feed baby oysters located in these large vats. Frank Long is the county's agricultural extension agent and frequently takes students on tours here for the local school's Ag in the Classroom programs.
Just to learn about the oyster life cycle and to promote oysters to them so that when they become adults themselves, we can promote having oysters maybe off their dock with some ready reefs or sort of allowing aquaculture and oysters themselves to get back into the bay to help clean it up.
Oyster Seed Holdings is on Gwynn's Island, a popular vacation spot in Mathews County. The hatchery is holding tours in the summer and tastings on the back deck. When locals talk about people from out of town buying summer homes, many of those homes are here on Gwynn's Island.
Mathews is a unique place. You got to want to come to Mathews. It's a place of seashore and country living. I like to say we're the best kept secret in Virginia.
A secret that more people are discovering. Agriculture and aquaculture are moving forward as the county becomes a destination for retirees and summer vacationers alike. In Mathews County, I'm Burke Moeller reporting.
We're so glad you could join us this week to celebrate all the bounty Virginia has to offer. From the kitchen to your home and garden to our beautiful wide open spaces, we are proud to say that this is real Virginia. For everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a great week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay.